I'm letting go, seeking more of you and finding less of me. And now I'm free. So take my will and let your kingdom come. Lord, take my will. Let your kingdom come. Lord, take my will. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done. Yeah. Let your will be done, God. Yeah, yeah. Let your will be done. Let your will be done, God. Yeah, oh my God, it's you again. Fell with a friend. I haven't seen your face around here for quite some time. Where were you when I needed you? When I cried for you? You turned away and left me standing, well, all alone, yeah. Jesus,
Can't hear you.
yeah.
Heck yeah. He's almost here, so I still can't hear you.
Jesus,
He's coming right now.
Yeah, he's coming right now. He's coming.
come, yeah, yeah. I'm the chief of sinners. I've been declared the winner. 'Cause I was blind, but now I see. Was lost, but not forgotten. Redeemed by the only begotten. The Son of God, He lives in me. Oh yeah. Among the sinner, I am chief.
And it's Thursday afternoon. It's Anthony Sadi. Thursday evening, early evening, late afternoon, whatever you want to call it, here in Corona. Temescal Valley Corona style is what I like to say, because I did get some heat early on about this is Temescal Valley. So I like to keep it, real for everybody. So this is Anthony Sadi at Men of Impact. It's Thursday. It's my favorite day, and I got one of my favorite guys here today, but I'm not going to introduce him just yet because I got to introduce what's going on, what we're doing here at Men of Impact Radio, what we're doing at Hope Radio 24/7. Coming to you live from Hope Radio 247 in the Hope Recovery Center in Temescal Valley, and I don't have a couple of announcements, but let me just explain to you a little bit about where Men of Impact came from. Men of Impact all started, it was a Bible study that I attended at a that I used to go to every other Saturday morning at a church that I used to attend. And in that Bible study, I got to meet some men of impact. Now, I really needed some men of impact in my life at that point in my life, and what they did was they showed me what it was like to be a husband, a father, and just be a man, really, what it looked like to be a Christian man, which certainly did not fit the stereotype that I had presented to myself. So I went there to get out of my own head so that I could be around other guys and learn what was up. So we still have that Bible study, only we don't do it at that church anymore. We do it at Starbucks off the Indian Truck Trail exit in Temescal Valley. It was on fire last. We didn't even get to have it there last week. We actually had it here inside Hope Recovery Center because our Starbucks was closed and you couldn't even get up there anyways. And if you did get up there, you couldn't get out. So we were able to have it here. But every Saturday morning from 6:30 to 8, that Starbucks is open now. From 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m., we are there, rain or shine. We all know that isolating ourselves is not a good idea. Yet that's still our go-to move, isn't it, guys? We spend money to build man caves. We buy TVs for the garage. We buy refrigerators for the garage. We buy all of these things for the garage or whatever so that we can get away from people, which I don't know where that comes from. But we want to get away from people and be alone in our heads. Well, we know that that's not good, fellas. That's why we meet, we study, we laugh, and we just have a great time. We talk about Jesus, and we study the Bible, and it's just a bunch of men. Now, those guys that go there, we're not from any one church, so all are invited at any time. Just show up. We're from all different churches because the Bible tells us that we are the church, and a building is just a building. So we go to a building, and we read, we study, and we have a good time. We learn about Jesus. We help each other get through hard times, and we are doing some things like not too long ago, actually a few weeks ago, some of us went and took some kids from Santa Ana to some marginalized boys from Santa Ana. We took them fishing at Santa Ana River Lakes. We're going to be planning a trip to the ocean not too long from now and take some kids out there. We partner with Men of Impact is partnering with Triple Threat Mentoring, which Alan Smith was a guest on this show not too long ago. So every Thursday, we bring on a Men of Impact, a Man of Impact. Now, these guys are not perfect men, but they know they're not perfect, and they strive to be perfect every single day. So my phone is always, I don't understand it. So they strive to be perfect every single day, and that's who I bring on here. Those guys that are trying, but we know we can't. We know we need mentors. We know we need to talk about things. We know we need to open up and actually create some vulnerability and some honesty between men. That's kind of where the show comes from. I need to be able to talk. I need to be able to get out of my own head and talk to guys. So quite honestly, I invite guys on that are normally smarter than I am, which isn't tough to do, so that I can get me some therapy in. And again, one of those guys, the guy today is just that same kind of guy. It's a guy I love to talk to. I met this guy about a year ago right here at the radio station, and quite honestly, it was immediately I had a connection with him because I don't know why it's doing that. Immediately I had a connection with him because he's an honest guy, straight shooter. He is, and that's just people's feelings, not worrying about if we're going to, oh my gosh, not worried about if we're going to hurt anybody's feelings. Usually guys don't do that, but these days, you never know, lots of sensitive fellas out there these days. So, and I just think that we need to get past that as humans and stop taking everything so personally and get rid of the hate and the distrust and talk like real talk. So that's kind of what we do here. So my guest today has been on my show before. And I am so glad and excited to have him back. Now, he kind of saved my life today, and the guy is super busy, so I can't even believe he's here. Honestly, I sent a text with about 10% thought that he would say yes. Honestly, because he's just so busy. And he said yes and saved me because my guest canceled right at the last minute. Today they canceled. But it was for a family emergency, and I completely understand. So Tommy Leach, head football coach of East Vale High, we will get him back on here as soon as we can. But so we're just kind of going to go with the theme that I was going to go with him as well. So I'm just going to turn it over to Jeremy. He's going to introduce himself to you. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're going to get right to it.
Hey, Anthony. Good to be back on the show. Thanks for having me on, I should say. Not trying to say good for you to have me on the show. But no, seriously, I'm Jeremy Mercer, and I also host my own show here on Hope Radio 24/7, and that is the God I Love Sports radio show. We even drop a podcast now and then. Probably have to put that podcast on hiatus for a couple months till things calm down. After November 6th. So anyway, but I'm a pastor. I pastor, despite your typo post yet earlier, not Corn's Connection Church, just Connection Church. Connection Church here in Corona. I'm the lead pastor there. I'm also a sports announcer. In addition to having my radio show, I'm the public address announcer for Azusa Pacific University basketball and football. And I write an article for the Eastvale News, something you know a little bit about. Yep. And I got some other things going on in my life.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. He's running for city council here in Corona. But the other part is it kind of fits into what I was talking about. Because city council, not unfortunately, should be looked up on, and I know it doesn't. They should be able to be looked up to, and they should be somebody you can go to for mentoring. And unfortunately, that's not always how it is in anything, in any walk of life. But at least it's something that it's something that I know I can trust my boy Jeremy here. He's somebody that I would go to with any issues that I might have. So I just want to talk to you about a little bit about that. But I also let's go ahead and talk about the let's go ahead right now and whoa.
I do that sometimes too. I'm animated. Then Molly yells at me, but not on the microphone.
Just silently judge you.
That's right.
Silently judge us. That's,
I'm used to that and running for city council now.
Right. They're not so silent all the time, though. I've come to find out.
I don't pay attention to it. Let's put it that way. So silent to me.
Right. So that is one thing that is we've got two guys here at the radio station that are now running for city council.
Right.
District 5, Sean Kelly, who
I'm District 5.
You're District 5.
I'm District
He's
5.
District 1.
Exactly.
So Sean Kelly, District 1, so, get out and vote. They're walking the neighborhoods, meeting their constituents, so that you guys can meet them and see who they are, know who they are, understand who they are. And then you should really do your research on who they are and who's running against them. Mm-hmm. That is what I would recommend. Now, I want to touch real quick on the city council.
Sure.
And then there's things that I didn't even ask last time and you just reminded me that I'm very interested in.
Gotcha.
So, so first of all, why?
Why am I running?
Why did you? Because you're a busy dude.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, before this, guys, this guy is posting something at 7 in the morning and something at 1 in the morning, and I'm thinking, when does this dude sleep?
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah. First of all, really, leadership. I mean, you talked about mentoring, and when you said, that city council people should be someone that people can look up to, that they can trust, and should be able to go to for mentoring. There's all different kinds of people from all different walks of life, but for me, the reason why I agree with your statement that they should be somebody that you should go to and be able to be mentored is because city council is about leadership. We need leadership. And a leader understands that, number one, it's not just about you. One person, no matter how dynamic, no matter how skilled, no matter how gifted they are, they have to have a good team around them. And then you also understand, if you've actually been in leadership, that you're always going to lose leadership. People are going to leave. They're going to move. They're going to get sick. They're going to get disgruntled. They're going to get a better opportunity, a different opportunity, whatever the reason, good, bad, or indifferent. They're going to change. So you've got to constantly be raising up new leaders. It's one of the reasons why one of the phrases in my church is we are intentional about raising the next generation. I say that all the time. And as a leader in the city, you've got to be developing other leaders to make your organization better. If we look at the city like an organization, you've got to develop leadership skills. People who can not just do a job, but think conceptually about problems, that they know how to be a problem solver. They know how to be people-oriented, that knows how to motivate people to get more production out of them on the job, as well as be able to work with people you disagree with. Because if we only work with those we agree with, we're never going to reach our full potential. And so you have to be able to reach across the aisle, as they say, reach across the hallway, reach across whatever, someone who you just don't naturally get along with because personality conflicts, different agendas, whatever it may be. You've got to be able to work with people, and a leader brings people together for a common purpose. And I have a purpose for this city. I'm running to make Corona, you asked why, I'm running to make Corona strong, safe, and successful. That's my purpose, and I have different reasons for that. I don't know how much you want me to go into all that, but
Well, give me a couple reasons.
okay. So it's not just a slogan, right? I mean, who needs more political rhetoric?
Who needs more political rhetoric?
Right. We're tired of politicians just saying a bunch of stuff, and you know when they say it, sometimes it doesn't even sound good, and you think that means nothing. Sometimes, hey, it sounded real nice. It means nothing. To me, we are strong when we live within our budget, like every family, every business, and every church has to do. You have to keep the doors open. Mm-hmm. We're strong that when we live according to the budget without raising taxes. I think we're taxed enough already in this state. In fact, there's a saying, there's only two things that are certain in life, death and taxes.
Death and taxes.
Well, sadly, here in California, taxes are becoming the death of us. We're just being taxed to death over every little. If you look at your bills, there's so many little small, and they got so many of these little, letters, FCCP, LTR, whatever, and it's just little bit by little bit letting you go to the restaurant, and that gets passed down, triggered onto everything that goes. So this new gas tax, right? I'm against the gas tax, and I'm not trying to get too political. I'm just sharing. This is what we do. We just start talking and we go.
That's what we do.
So I'm a yes on 6 person. Everybody, okay? Full disclosure: repeal the gas tax. The reason is there's more than enough tax revenue there already. We are the second highest, and in some ways, the highest tax state in the union. We keep having a competition between us and New York about who's going to pass another tax so that we can have the title of the most taxed state in the union. And we have more taxes, more taxes, more taxes, and yet it's still never enough. When will we wake up and realize we have to start holding people accountable to do the job, and if not, throw them out? And I'm getting a little fired up because I'm not a politician. I've never had any designs on running for office. I didn't even want to. I was the last person to get on board with this. And it's not because I'm not doing it resistant. I wait because my family knows I've been this for years. I'm either all in or I'm all out. But once I am all in, I go all out.
I've only known you for a year. I know that.
Yeah. And so once I go in, I'm going to go all out, and I'm going all out to make my city strong, safe, and successful. We're also safe. A big reason why I'm running, I'm on the board of the Little League here, one of the things that keeps me busy, and it's right down the street here. And this year we found needles on the ball field.
Like syringes?
Syringes. I mean, the homeless issue, especially once they got removed, the homeless population that was down by Anaheim City, then many of them came up the river and came to Corona. We've all seen it. Listen, I'm the only candidate in the entire race who's taking the strong stand that I am. That sounds like a political statement, right? Like, I'm the only one who... No, seriously, I'm the only one who's... If somebody else was, me, I'm a truth teller. Yes. I would say, hey, so-and-so agrees with me on this. I can come into agreement with them on that. If they're from a different district, I hope we get on the council together and work together on these same issues. But because of my experience with it, as a pastor, I've been meeting with the police department and the homeless task force for 3 years, working on this issue. I've gone down and toured the Corona Norco Rescue Mission and sat down and asked the leadership what's going on there and what are the challenges. I have people come by my church all the time that we've put up in hotels, we've fed, we've tried to get into programs. On the street, you name it, I've done it. And the harsh reality is this. The thing that, you talked about being sensitive. I'm in agreement and being offended, right? The scriptures even say, it is to your glory to overlook an offense. So while people in this country continue to be offended at everything, it's not to their own glory. Not only do I think it makes you look bad, it makes you, as a man, you like to talk about being real men.
Yes.
Like we used to say when I grew up, a stupid little saying, sticks and stones may break my bones.
Right.
right? And now we just can't hear anything without, we're offended, we got to sue, we got to tweet about it. I mean, and I don't like that about our president. And, I don't like the fact that he has to tweet every time somebody says one thing about it. It's like, just let it roll off your back. Who cares? I talked to someone today and they said, I gave my official introduction last night at the council meeting. They said, you're getting savaged online. I'm like, okay. I had an opponent come to me and I talked to him last night, introduced myself to him. And he was like, man, they're saying a lot of stuff about you. I go, I don't care. Like, I know who I am. I know why I'm running. And if a leader does not listen to the critics, if I pastored my church by listening to every naysayer, we would never go anywhere. That's the same for any business. That's the same for any marriage. And that's why I try to tell couples when I do marriage counseling all the time is if you just sit there and keep criticizing your spouse, your marriage is not going to get better.
Nope.
You have got to take ownership for you.
For you.
And work on you.
Yep.
And trust God for them to work on them. But if you work on you, I bet you your spouse can have a better chance for them to work on themselves. As long as you criticize, that gets you nowhere. Now, I don't mean critical thinking, again, to problem solve. But again, I kind of wandered a bit from the homeless issue, but to bring it back, that we found syringes on the field. I have ladies telling me that they don't feel safe to take walks at night anymore in this city. Ladies who can't get off the bus stop and come to my church because they congregate somewhere. There's businesses who can't open in the morning because people are sleeping in the archways and blocking the doorways, urinating, defecating on the properties, right, the streets, right. You can't run a city that way. And as I said a minute ago, the harsh reality, without sounding I'm a pastor, I care about people, but this is the reality. And this is not statistics, it's not theory, this is me, boots on the ground, having done it. 95, and I think I'm being generous. I think it's 98, 99% of the people who you offer help, they refuse the help.
Yep.
They want to make the choices they want to make, and they want everybody else to cater to it. That's the hard reality. I had a guy stop by my church a few months back, right? He had been to our church a little while, a little bit of a different guy, didn't think anything was wrong with him. It just, we would say squirrely, kind of a squirrely guy, And then he left. He wasn't there very long, and he left. And all of a sudden, he stops by after like months and months, a year, a couple years, 2 years. I mean, it had been a long time. I couldn't remember his name. My staff pastor comes in and says, hey, so-and-so, like to see you. I'm like, who? And then I saw his face, like, oh, yeah. And I said, how are you? What's going on? He says, I'm out here on the streets right now. I said, whoa. I said, hey, I know several different programs we can get you in. Would you like me to do that? I don't want you to be on the streets. And he says to me, almost word for word this, that's okay, Pastor. I'm going to keep wrestling it out with God here more on the streets. And as soon as I heard that, I said, okay, man, God bless you. We're here every Sunday morning at 10:30. We'd love to see you. Because at that point, I can't do anything to help you. And I know what the scriptures say about feeding the poor. And I know what it says about bringing people in. But if you read the scripture in its totality of context of the whole scripture, God never allows for injustice. And when they're choosing to refuse help, we've tried to be just. We've tried to be fair. They're just now trying to take advantage of the system. So if you look at the Old Testament in the book of Deuteronomy, and God was setting up, and I don't have time to explain the whole thing, but God was setting up a society, right? These people the Jewish people had come out of slavery in Egypt, wandered for 40 years. They had no semblance of how to govern themselves. So people say, the law. Yeah, God had to give a law so they could give the law so they could run themselves as a society and as a community. And one of the things they said was, if someone's hungry and you have a field, let them eat off the corner. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's being generous. That's helping the poor. But it also made sure to say, now the person who's coming to eat off your corner or your field cannot bring a basket.
Right.
They cannot bring a wheelbarrow, so to speak. They can't load up and then take it back with them. If they're hungry, they can stop by and pick some things and get some food in their stomach. But God was saying even then in the Old Testament, you can't game the system. Now go to the New Testament with the church. And we saw even through the birth of the church in Acts chapter 6 that they were feeding people. That was part of what they were doing. Right. Because the Grecian widows were getting overlooked. And that raised a complaint, which is why they raised up the first deacons, to help distribute the food. Right? So Acts chapter 6, go check it out, everybody. And so we know they were feeding people. And then read through one of the epistles, and the Apostle Paul says, we laid down this law, or this rule, we laid down this rule as we do in all the churches. If you don't work, you don't eat.
You don't eat. It says that, those specific words.
Right. If you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
That's in the church. So people that say it's what Jesus wants us to do, Jesus wants you as an individual to have generosity in your heart, that if you see someone in need, you try to help that person in need. But from Old Testament through the children of Israel and setting up the nation of Israel to the New Testament church, anytime you had a system and an organization and a government, so to speak, God said, no, you can't game the system. You can't take advantage. It's not fair. And there's a bunch of people now, more ever increasing numbers,
Yes.
that want something for nothing. And I don't see that as being biblical at all.
I don't either. And I think that, and right now, statistics are that, I read something in LA, statistics in the past year, homeless has gone up literally something like 40% or 30%.
It's exploding across the country.
It's exploding across the country,
Right.
but really bad here in California.
Yes.
And because of rent and all of the
That's part of it.
taxes
That's part of it.
and
Yeah, it's harder to afford
Yes.
to live. Now you've had the California exodus. Speaking of the Jews leaving Egypt, you've had the middle class leaving California. 1 million people have left in the last 10 years. Those are all taxpayers. They went for a different job, affordable housing. They just got tired. I mean, California is awesome, right? I mean, come on. Beaches, mountains, great weather, right? It's awesome.
Yep.
Why would they leave? Because they're tired of the junk. People are saying, what's the point of me working where if I give away over half of what I make? And for people who just don't want to work. And I know I hear the argument about mental illness. Trust me, I'm a pastor. But that all stems from drug use. That's why I support Hope Recovery Center. What people aren't talking about is the reasons why. Why is homelessness exploding? Yes, affordable housing is one issue. But the bottom line is we reduced, we lowered the penalties on drug dealers.
on
Drug dealers.
on crimes. Yeah.
Right, on crime. So they're just back. There's no incentive to not do crime. You get released the next day, no big deal. You don't get picked up at all. So if there's more drug dealers, there's going to be more drug users.
Yeah.
They're getting hooked on drugs. It's ruining their lives. Sean here at Hope Recovery Center knows firsthand. I know firsthand as a pastor. Drugs devastate your life. One of the things that's crazy to me with all this stuff, legal marijuana, yada, yada, yada. I grew up as a kid. Forget in the 80s, which is when I grew up, the Nancy Reagan, say no to drugs, just say no. Look, you knew one thing that was plain and simple. Drugs are bad, right? I mean, drugs are going to mess you up. I was a huge sports fan, right? Len Bias. Mm-hmm. I'm 10 years old. Number 1 draft pick takes coke, dies a couple days after the draft, the night after the draft, something like that. Right? I saw all those stories. We know drugs end up ruining your life. I see it in my family. I have family members who's ruined their lives. We all know someone who's dead, if not many people who are dead. It messes up lives. And so if we make it easier now, and then people don't make good decisions on drugs, newsflash. Okay, they're not responsible. They're terrible parents. I mean, have you seen the videos that have gone viral where there's people that were literally high on heroin, a mom and a dad in the front seat, passed out. They thought they were dead, and the kid is strapped in the back seat in his car seat.
Yeah.
And they're pulled off on the side of the road and just told. That's happening all over. And then so what happens, you make bad decisions, you can't pay bills, you end up on the streets. And so while I know it feels compassionate to say, the bottom line is if you don't put a stop to wrong behavior and you don't call it out as bad, wrong behavior, it will be duplicated and it ruins people's lives.
And drugs, and I'm speaking from experience, drugs and alcohol don't just ruin your life.
Well, right.
They ruin lives all
Yes.
around you.
Yes.
The ripple effect is like even when you look at Len Bias, I know it's shallow, so to speak, but it ruined that entire.
It ruined the Boston franchise.
The franchise.
And it ruined Maryland University.
Yeah.
Now, look, does basketball matter? No.
No.
But as far as just it shows, it just is a simple example to show the destructive nature and how widespread it can bring destruction.
That's right. I mean, Boston Celtics weren't anything for a decade.
How many companies had a CEO who was doing too much coke, so he was worse on his job, and the company ended up closing because he wasn't sharpened on his job? I know they felt it helped him sharpen up for a while, but then the addiction takes over.
It does.
I mean, it works for a while, but then it takes over and it just destroys you. And then, so because their company closes, everyone lost their job.
Right.
And then how many families may have lost their home?
Right.
I mean, it just the ripple effect in the lake throwing the rock in the pond, it ripples out far beyond just that one person.
Far beyond. I mean, and unfortunately, humans. There's humans.
Right.
And I always Jeremiah 17:9. I always think about that. Nothing is more deceitful than the human heart. Nobody knows how sick it is,
Yeah.
and that's just the
Yeah.
honest to gosh truth.
Yeah.
And we really don't know. I mean, when you see all of the sex trafficking, all of the things going on today, it's just that is just testament to
Terrific.
what the human heart is.
Yeah, it's pretty So that's one of the things. My basic, just if you know, I'm always one who likes. I actually enjoy debating. If you can't tell, I enjoy a thorough, thick, good discussion. I purposely engage in it all my life, just because I do like to honestly discuss people who disagree with me. If they're willing to have an honest discussion. If you just want to rant, forget it. There's no point in that. I like to have an honest, engaged discussion.
With no offense.
Well, you can't get offended. You can't have a good, honest discussion if you're going to get offended.
Right.
It doesn't work. Which is why now in our country all we have is two sides shouting at each other.
That's it.
And no one's sitting down and talking anymore. And so, you've got to be able to sit down with people, and you've got to look at the truth. And one of my base arguments that I use for people who want to say they're atheists or don't believe in God, and then, okay, where does morality come from? If God doesn't exist, what is the basis for morality? There is no background or foundation for morality. I'll give you an easy example. If it's all just survival of the fittest, right?
Right.
On a philosophical level when it comes to morality. If that's how we got here, and that explains our origin, and God doesn't exist, etc. On a philosophical level, where does morality come from? And so, because if it's survival of the fittest and I murder you, you better
win.
sprout a wing or
Right.
have some venom come out of your mouth or be stronger. And that's just the way evolution works. If you're too weak, you die. Mm-hmm. So why is murder wrong? And yet everybody universally understands that murder's wrong because, well, that's taking someone else's life. Who says that's wrong? It almost fits the morality narrative of evolution.
Right.
Okay, so, and you can apply that to many things. If you can just take, well, you're too weak. Sorry, this is survival of the fittest. I'm just trying to support me and mine. I want my family to survive. So I'm going to rob and steal, and whatever. You can apply that across the board. And so then they say, okay, well, societal contract theory. That's one of the main things. Well, we have to have some basic laws, otherwise we can't function as a society. To which I jokingly say, tell Antifa. Anyway, that's a side joke. If you know what that means. Okay, but if that's the case, then why don't people go along with it? I mean, why is there still, if you say that, well, we can make ourselves better, do we see that happening?
Do we see that happening?
I mean, do we have enough evidence around us to say, no, we're bad? And if you understand Christianity, fundamentally, we have to realize we're broken. Mm-hmm. And we know what broke us. Sin.
Right.
We're broken. That's not how God intended for us to be. But we are born into sin. We have a sinful nature that we're born into. Every single person is. And it's only through having your sins forgiven that you can be made right with God. But then as you learn to follow Christ and follow the Word of God and live it according to how it's taught in its context, it actually makes you a better person. I know you know this. You've said this, I should say, for yourself. I know it for me. Following the Bible made me a better husband.
Yep.
Following the Bible makes me a better leader. I mean, all these people that are attacking me and saying they want honesty and transparency in the city and stuff, and I'm thinking, yeah, then I'm your guy.
Yeah.
And you know why I'm your guy? Because I'm not accountable to a Facebook group.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not even accountable to the voters. I could get voted out. I know I'm accountable to something much higher. I'm accountable to God one day.
That's right.
And trust me, that supersedes every level of accountability on this earth. That's why you can trust me. I answer to a higher authority. Whether you think he's real or not, I answer to that.
Right.
And that's what governs me. So anyway, I can keep going on about that.
No, that's a subject I think about all the time. And if you think about it, especially the here in our bubble in America, people will say, well, because we have the laws.
Yeah.
If they were to look at other countries, my daughter just got back from Congo. If you don't believe that men are, I don't want to say inherently bad, but
broken by sin.
They're broken by sin. Go to countries like that where there is no God there, and see it, and there is no civilization almost. I mean, it's just craziness,
right.
And they're living by survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Honestly,
a lot of places are.
Yep.
She got back from Congo. The horror stories are unbelievable.
Wow.
And so I'm with you on that whole thing, and that's one thing I always talk about is Jeremiah 17:9 is one of my go-tos, man. It's just because I have to remember that about myself.
Right.
And we have to remember that about others, and let it break our heart.
Right.
Because it breaks God's.
Right.
So let it break our heart for those guys, and I'm doing a lot more praying for those people these days.
Yeah.
Because that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Look, man, I used to pray for the salvation of Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And when this is, I'm going to make a lot of people mad, but when he was killed, I was happy as an American. Justice had been done. I was very happy.
Right.
I was very grieved when I saw the reaction of many Christians who said, "Good, great, burn in hell."
Right.
It was a lot of them.
A lot of them.
And I understand that in my human nature. But as a believer, I'm not supposed to live out of my human nature. I'm supposed to live out of the new nature that God's given me. And out of that new nature, I don't rejoice that anyone goes to hell.
That's right.
Because I deserve hell.
That's right.
And our job is to be praying for people.
Say that again for me. What do we deserve?
We deserve hell.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago, and I said that, and he got offended. It was offensive to him, and I said, no, that's what we deserve, dude. That's what we deserve.
Yeah.
Because one sin, if it wasn't for Jesus, that's what we're all getting anyway.
Yeah, right. Right.
So don't think that we deserve anything more. Everything to the north side of hell
Right.
is a plus. That's just Jesus.
Right.
Nothing else, right?
Yeah.
And
Real quickly, just sorry to interrupt. For those that say they don't believe in hell, Jesus spoke about hell more than he spoke about heaven. Just keep that in mind. I just want to go by the words of Jesus. Well, he spoke about that more than he did heaven. Read the Gospels, you'll find it out.
I didn't know that.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. And
Not that I think we should be saying hell, 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 hell,
No.
hell, but you know what I mean.
No,
I'm just saying as far as a belief that this is what Christians believe.
yes.
And if you don't believe it, you're not believing Christian theology.
Right. And I remember being that person who said, you're going to go. And then one day God got a hold of me and said, no.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart that they go to hell. Remember?
Yeah.
So that none should perish,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah.
And all should. And that's how we have to view it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on all of this, and I'm going to try and segue in here. But again, because listen, we already know the two of us, we can do this.
Yeah. It's fun, too.
It's fun.
Look, I was just real quick, sorry. I came away, we made the hours of Hope yesterday and all that on the telethon. And I was on here for like 15 minutes or so. And I had so much fun. And I went home and like, God, why am I doing all the stuff I'm doing? This craziness of, I mean, look, it's a lot, right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot to do. This is probably the most challenging thing I've done in the sense of piling on everything else. And so I'm just like, Lord, I could just be doing stuff on radio, be so happy. It's fun. It's easy. You know, I was like, why am I taking this on? And because I want to make a difference, because I want to obey God. And, you know, so anyway, but yeah, we could do this all day is what you were saying.
Yeah, we could do this all day. And I would love to do it all day with you.
Right.
Honestly, I would love to get me, you, and Ramon in a room. It's just one of my things, you know? So we're going to talking about mentoring and the young man. So you're a pastor, so it has to be part of what you do. But we're talking about the homeless and the drug addiction. So how do we get those guys? Okay, can you tell the listeners that may need or may know somebody that needs, because it's hard, like you said, the guy, you offered him something, he said no.
And I could repeat that story several times over, just in different ways.
Right. So, and I think part of what it is, and it's part of one of the things I learned about Jesus when I read this book, not a fan, was that. Have you read that book?
We did the series curriculum in my church. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Kyle Adelman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a.
Yep. Right.
That book was very convicting.
Yep.
And when he says, and I can't remember the scripture, but I'm sure you will. When Jesus is talking, I can't remember what he says, but then the line is, and then many left.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to say John 8, Mark 8. Anyway, yeah, what happens, it says something to the effect of, he began to talk about, unless you drink of my blood and eat of my flesh.
Right.
You know, which
that's what it was,
sounds pretty crazy.
Sounds crazy.
Right? And it says, after this, not many followed him.
Right.
And then at one point, he turned his disciples to and said, are you two going to leave? And they said to him, where are we going to go? You alone have the words of life. And so sometimes in saying the truth, people walk away.
Right, and the one thing that resonates with me is that Jesus did not chase after them. Mm-hmm. He did not beg them to come back.
Right.
He did not try to sell them on what he was saying.
Right.
He said, okay, I'll mentor these.
Yeah. And that's a good point you're bringing up. So it's always tough for me as a pastor, because again, people leave your church, people leave everybody's church. You're not going to pastor a church and have people leave. Again, for all the reasons. They like you, they don't like you, they got offended, they faded away from the Lord, they just got into bad habits of not attending, they moved, whatever.
Tons of reasons.
Yeah, and it's hard as a pastor, but realize it really hurts, you know. And when you're in a bigger church, you don't know they are. Sure, if you're in a smaller church, you know they are. It hurts. It's personal, and it's not necessarily supposed to be personal, but it's just you've poured your life out. Sometimes if you've been in there late night college, you've gone to the hospital, you've done whatever, the prayed and the interceding for them, and then they go. It hurts, and so it's always hard to find that balance when Jesus talked about, of course, good shepherd leaves the 99 to go after the one. To know when are we supposed to go after them and try to bring them back. But I would say, if you go to the one, you try to reach out to them, and they just refuse to come, you can't do anything about that.
Right.
You know, and then but you're saying if they're leaving for other reasons, you don't go chase the crowds, try to chase the crowds, get them to come back. So it's a hard balance to find. And so, like you said, he took the 12. One of the things I've talked about a lot through the years of ministry that I've been in, which is 20 years now, is that the crowds came for miracles, the crowds came for food, the crowds came for the awe, the spectacle, etc. And they were there. They heard his teaching. They liked the teaching. Ooh, ah. He taught as one who had authority. They marveled at his teaching, Scripture said. But the ones who were disciples are the ones who came back and said, okay, what'd that mean?
Right.
You know, and so it's easy just to hear the message out there. But if you're not trying to personally apply it to your life and say, okay, what does that really mean? How do I do that? That's the definition of a disciple. And so people sit in church. I tell you, I'm a pastor every week. Okay, millions of people across church, and they walk in, they hear the message, ooh, ah, nice, yay. Whether they think he's inspirational, they like the funny stories, they like that old time, whatever it is. But if you're walking out and not doing it, what's the purpose?
That's right.
James says, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only.
That's right.
You just heard the word. You're now accountable to go do it. And so you got to find the ones who want to change. You got to find the ones who want to grow. Look, it's real popular today with young people to say they want to be a leader, they want to do this, they want to do that. But you'll find out who the ones really are when they actually start working. So I was so proud of my son the other day. We've been talking about, trying to raise him up. I have a great kid. Mm-hmm. I had a political opponent last night tell me that he knows people in my church, and he says, you know what they talk about all the time? I said, what? They talk about your son, how great he is. And he goes, that tells me about you as a father. So I said, thank you for that. I'm very proud of my son. Nobody's perfect. I don't expect him to be perfect. But the other night, I'd fall asleep on the couch, and he stayed up late. It was not, school was still out. And I'll sit here what he's doing. And he actually, on his own, without being prompted, and started putting dishes way out of the dishwasher.
What?
And he is just turned 12. And so, and I talked to him the other day, and I said, because I also, I was out. I was so tired. Like I said, I just passed out on the couch. I'm quite busy. So I'll see my wife come up, and I hear her getting upstairs, and Jacob, go to bed. And I was like, oh, no, I'm back to sleep. So the next day I talked to him. I said, Jake, listen, I said, I'm really proud of you because you took initiative. And I talked about what it means to take initiative. He didn't know what the word meant, and being a self-starter without being asked. And if you will do that in life, you will find people that will want to raise you up. People will come to you. It'll be a benefit on a job, in ministry. Just go out and do it. A lot of people say they wanted something. You've got to find those that actually want to do it, and it's pretty easy to tell. The ones who come back after the crowd, the ones who don't leave when the crowd does leave. That's the ones you got to find and you got to mentor, and that's hard to do because then when you mentor them, and here's the thing: when people come to me all the time, I've had a lot of people over the years come to me want to mentor, and most of them know when they come to me, they know I'm a truth teller. I mean, it's like my brand, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's a few things I'm known for, and that's one of them. You said being a straight shooter, like, yeah, I'm about as straight a shooter as they come. Now, I'm not one who wants to be harsh with people and just saying, they don't like it too bad. No, we're supposed to speak the truth in love.
That's right.
My words need to build up, as Ephesians says.
Right.
And so, I don't mean this, I say whatever I want. A lot of people are like, I'm just truth teller. You're just kind of mean.
There's a
but
difference.
You like to call it, what I'm saying? I don't mean that.
Right.
But people know if they're going to come to me, I'm going to shoot straight with them. And they think they want that.
But they really don't. And
then when you tell them something they don't like, and they bounce, guess you really didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you can't do anything with that. And then they, and that's why people get disgruntled. And that's why a lot of people don't say the truth, because they know someone's going to get offended, probably sooner rather than later. They're going to leave my church. They're not going to like me. They're going to gossip about me behind my back. They're going to quit serving in ministry. So they don't, and then people don't actually grow.
That's right.
Because I'd have to guy earlier today. I said, listen, how did I do last night? Tell me the truth. Slap me in the face with it. It's okay. I can handle it. Like, if I'm supposed to be a man, be a big boy, handle it. I'm asking for it. Give it to me. If you tell me it was terrible, okay, I might sting a little bit, but I'll take it, chew on it, and I'll learn how to be better in the future.
Learn how to be better. That's right.
That's the only way you get better.
And anybody who thinks they don't need to get better has lost their mind.
Here's the thing. You mentioned the word earlier, perfect. I preached a message, 10 plus years ago. I didn't have a kid yet. My mom asked me to preach on Mother's Day. And I was like, and I wasn't the preacher of the church yet. And I'm like, I don't have a kid. We preach on Mother's Day? Like, dang. So you had to go pray and ask God. And I felt the Lord just gave me this little kind of piece to go with. And it was, listen, not everyone can be best. There's only one best, right? But everybody can be better. So just be better. Don't concern yourself with trying to be perfect, because you can't be perfect.
Can't be.
You are fundamentally flawed, broken by sin. Be better. And there's no perfect marriage. There's no perfect church. There's no perfect pastor. There's no perfect father, husband, businessman, or councilman. Be better. Always work on being better. That's very empowering. You can be better. You can find people to mentor you to be better. You can get, and you don't have to have a relationship. I've been mentored by people by reading their books. I've been mentored by people who I've never met by listening to their training CDs over, and I dated myself to the 90s with CDs, but over and over and over. I mean, I'm talking about 50 times I listened to one thing on time. People ask, it's funny, you ask about all the stuff I do, right? So only my wife gets this, because she would know how much I listened to a time management CD over and over from a guy named Jim Weidman. And I didn't think of myself as being great managing my time. I still think I'm great managing my time. Now, my D personality type is a aggressive, go for it, type A, driven. If someone tells you can't do that too, all you just told me is a challenge to prove to you, oh, I can do that too. So that's who I am. I get that. And he talked about all the things he did. And I remember hearing that probably 15 some years ago, 16, 17 years ago, and thinking, wow, I want to be like that. I would tell my wife, I want to be like that guy one day. Just he could do all of that. And all these things he was over. And so my wife and I, a few years back, somehow that came up, and she goes, I think you're doing it. So when I tell people, okay, I'm a pastor, and if you know anything about ministry, that's a pretty rough gig.
That's a rough gig,
It's
dude.
a pretty rough gig. So I'm a pastor. I'm a sports announcer. I have a weekly sports talk show. I'm on the board of the Little League. I write an article for the newspaper. Try to anyway every month. Inside joke there. So all these, my wife came to me and said, no more jobs that don't pay. So because I just take it on and do a lot, and so I'm like, all right, hopefully I'm living up to Jim Wyman a little bit, And
right.
so, but he mentored me, and I've met him and sat down to lunch with him one time, but he never mentored me. Jeremy, here's what you do. He mentored me through listening to his CDs.
That's right.
It's an attitude about wanting to grow, and that's why I always feel like mentoring, especially with men, and as men of impact, you should be mentoring someone and being mentored by someone. I have a mentor in my life who I just was texting with from England. He's like, I'm going to be out there October 30th, Tuesday, lunch. I'm like, yep, I say yes. Now, if I have already something I can't get out of, I'll say I can't. But if he's there, yes, speak into my life, mentor me. It's important.
I listen. I can't do it. I can't do life without having guys I can go to, talk to, or even listen to. Like the other day, like I said, I wouldn't listen to you preach because I was like, I gotta listen to him preach. So honestly, I was just sitting there. I don't know why in my head it popped in. You've been on my heart lately.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I thought, I'm going to listen to him preach. So there I am sitting at work, and I log on to I go, I know he's got to have live stream. I know it's recorded. This is 2018.
Yeah.
I know it's recorded, right? And Robert told me you guys were ahead of the game there anyways. So I went on there and listened to it, and I was like, I text my wife, okay, we got to go. We got to go check him out. Because that's how I need to be preached to. Mm. It's just what works for me. Mm-hmm. And I guess one of the things we need to push across to these young men or older men that aren't getting mentored or that aren't mentoring. If you're an older guy out there and you don't have somebody you can mentor to, because I think that's part of why we do the show.
Yeah.
This is us mentoring.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a mentor where I'm getting paid to be, but we're mentoring. I bring on guys that help mentor, right? And like you said, listen. Now, YouTube, I can listen and watch anything.
Yeah.
But I've listened to tons of
podcasts. There's so much out there now.
So much.
There's more resource out there now than ever before.
And that's one of the things I guess I want everybody to understand. Listen, guys, you don't have to start with walking up to some guy you maybe don't know or and say, can you mentor me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can start with a book, of tape.
80s, baby.
A video, whatever. You can start with that so that you can understand. But if you're not putting the right things in, you're not going to get the right things out.
Yeah, and if there's any guys out there who are listening, I just thought of this. Any guys who are thinking, man, I really wish I had someone, but how, like you said, we're guys. Not many dudes that want to walk up to another dude and say, "Hey, bro, would you mentor me?" You know what I mean?
So how do they get past that, Jeremy?
Just hang around. Be faithful. Be there. Be willing. So let's just take it my context with church. Start serving. Start going to the men's events. And then if you're a believer, then yeah, definitely pray and ask God to bring someone. He will.
He will.
I've been so, and the thing is, I always think this, and I don't think people think this way, because people typically don't own their stuff, right?
Yeah, typically they do not own their stuff, yes.
It's so easy to blame.
Especially today.
Well, there's just no one around. I firmly believe that if God knows that your heart is committed to learn and grow, and you're sincerely asking him, he's going to bring someone.
He's going to bring
someone. He's going to totally bring someone. But put yourself in the place. So if you want to learn about carpentry or something like that, or how to build, you hang around with people that do that.
That's
if you're a car guy, go down to Cars and Coffee in Corona every Saturday morning, hang out with the car guys.
Right.
Start getting around that, and that's where guys, especially, that's where they do fellowship, congregate, relate, whatever. They just get together and hang out and do stuff. And then it comes. They don't sit down and say, "Hey, I really want us to have a heart-to-heart with you one day about this." That's just not how they do. Women go, "Can you talk? We want to talk." Yeah, okay, let's go talk. It'd be great. Guys we just hang around each other. Ball game, fishing, watching sports, building stuff, whatever. And then, you kind of start saying something, you feel each other out, and you just start saying something else, and the guy goes, he gets it, and they're cool about it, That's when it happens with guys. So hang around. Get around other men. That's why you got to be plugged into church. I mean, I think we talked about previous on an episode that I was on with you, is the importance of going to church. It's not just, you better be in church because God's going to get mad. God created church because we need it.
Yep.
It's there for us. It's like the Sabbath. Man was not created for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was created for man. The church, man wasn't created for the church. The church was created for man. That's Jeremy. That's my opinion. Don't look it up. That scripture doesn't exist. I'm just saying as an analogy of that, it's for our good.
Yep.
It helps us. And, I know so many young guys who I've seen come along, and, a lot of times, sadly, they don't have a dad. Not in the home, not in the picture. If he's around, it's a little bit, et cetera. Just the fatherless rate in our country is skyrocketing. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's what's ruining our society. That's why we have no respect for authority, because you learn respect for authority from your dad.
Yep.
At least you should. And there's some mamas that do good.
Yep.
So credit to the moms that do good. But I'm always so proud of young guys who they come, they don't have that, and I know they're looking out. They're desperately looking for that. And they don't want to say it, of course, because you don't know, how do you sound? They don't know. But they hang around, they start getting involved, and all of a sudden, and I always tell them, listen, one thing when you're a younger guy, you don't realize, older guys are always watching. They just don't talk a lot. But they're watching.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, when you get up to the age, then they talk to each other. Hey, that's a good young guy.
Yeah.
And we'll say a little small phrase, we know, hey, that means he's hardworking, he's faithful, we respect that guy. And so if you come hang around and you're faithful and you pitch in and you're not lazy, you're not just always on your phone, you're not, you know what I mean? You're there and you're you're into it, you're going to find guys who will mentor you.
You're integrated.
Yeah, it's not going to be, coming to you, will you mentor me? But you'll start getting mentorship in your life.
We used to have a bunch of guys from when I used to go to a church. We used to have a bunch of guys there, not just from that church, but most of us. We used to play basketball down at LA Fitness every Wednesday morning. Well, a couple of the young guys came from different states because they were doing a class there, training up. They actually had a class at that church called LSSC, and I don't remember what it stands for, but it was to train leaders, young leaders. And a couple of them, one of them came out to play basketball with us once. And then the next time, like 3 of them came out to play basketball with us once. And then they were always coming out to play basketball with us once. And again, like you said, all of a sudden now we were talking about them.
Yep.
This is a good guy, this is a good guy. And now we're engaging.
Yeah.
And one of the things one of the guys told me was, look, one of the reasons I come is because I need to see what older Christian men, how they interact and how they get along.
Yep.
And that's when, because you need to understand that Christian men are men.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Yeah.
They're men.
Right.
They're gonna do things and say things that you know.
Yeah.
That you may not think.
Yeah.
I remember my first men's over there at South Hills, my first Men of Impact meeting. You know Cannon Pearson. He was on
Oh,
your show.
yeah.
Well, him and Jason Smith were the leaders, and I walked in. One's got a USC shirt on. The other one's got an Oklahoma shirt on.
Yeah.
And it was just...
Boomer.
They were just beating on each other.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, they're men.
Yeah. Listen, for years. So, yeah, no, that's what, my wife, I love her, of course. She's amazing. But her dad wasn't the best. Say it that way. So she didn't really know what it was like to have a good man who's a real man. So, and I was too gruff and too insensitive and just too young and dumb and all that stuff like a lot of guys are. And so she just would always project her dad onto me, and I'm thinking, I'm like the opposite of your dad. And it took, number one, several years later, me growing to learn how to communicate with her the way she needs and all that. But there was some other things where she saw other men act like men, talk like men, etc., and for her to accept. And I would go, it actually was the movie Gran Torino, right? Get off my lawn. Yeah. And I could only watch it on, and I so badly wanted to see it, but I had to wait till it came out on TNT because I knew it had way too many F words.
Right.
And so came out, and I watched it, and then the whole thing is he's showing this young kid how men are, and he walks in the barbershop. Do you remember the scene? Hey, you blankety blank this kraut, and I start laughing, and she's because it's not just funny in this movie. I go, that's what men do. Yeah, they just come in and start whacking on each other, throwing haymakers.
Yeah,
and we don't care. We mean nothing by it. That actually you're good friends with it. Listen, you dummy, whatever, and that's what guys do. So yeah, and we're not meaning it. It's just men, it's sparring you're just sparring with each other,
That's all you're doing.
And I don't mean using foul language as a believer and things like that or saying vulgar things, but men are just always cracking on each other, and trying to get, that's why I love being with Ramon, where Joe and just boom, boom, and it's just funny, you laugh, So anyway, and I'm a smack talker, so I definitely am that kind of guy. So not everyone's a smack talker. My dad's not a smack talker, but I am.
I'm not, I don't know, I can talk smack.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big smack talker. But now on this, I can't even believe how many minutes we have left.
I know.
On that note, so I got to get this one out too. On that note, guys, listeners out there, if you're listening to whatever you do to get started on your mentoring, hanging out with guys, listening, watching, whatever it is, you have got to understand pain is going to be part of the process.
Yep.
Because you are going to have to look at you.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to own your stuff.
Yeah.
And that can be painful.
Yeah. It's going to be painful.
It's going to be painful.
Right. And it was the reason why we have the saying, no pain, no gain. It's and that's what I don't, when people do that, and I think, why did you come ask? Did you not expect this? Or are you inwardly, secretly just wanting people to tell you how good you think you are?
That's right.
Like, to tell you how good that you think you already are. I don't understand it. Like, you have to know, you ask them to mentor you. There's going to be things that aren't going to work out or that aren't going to be going well or you have to fix or we have to go to the Lord with, And that's where people tell me all the time, oh, Jeremy, you're so real, you're just real, and you share your stuff. And I'm like, because it's real. Like, I'm not perfect. If Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ, and then Paul's there also saying, I'm the chief of all sinners. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay to go out and sin. He was saying that's the life he came from. All of us have sinned, Mm-hmm. All of us have fallen short of God's glory. So when you can be real about that, it's empowered to let the guys know, look, man, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to mess up, but you got to own it. And so just humble yourself. Go ask the Lord for forgiveness. Ask God to work in you, And the one thing I tell my church frequently is that I've never known someone who diligently sought God and didn't grow. You're going to grow. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
If you hang on to your stuff and you keep excusing yourself and you just keep saying, I couldn't use that. You never get anywhere by playing the blame game. You've got to own it. Really, there's a book out there. I want to read it. I haven't done it. It's written by former Navy SEALs, I think. Definitely high military. I can't remember if it's Special Forces or Navy SEALs. I think it's Navy SEALs. And it's called Extreme Ownership. And it's just saying, and then you own everything. You don't ever blame anybody else. You own your stuff. And that's how you get the job done. That's how they're able to do the impossible.
And that's what a leader does. And
exactly.
If you're thinking yourself you need a mentor, you must know there's something broken.
Yeah.
So if something's broken, you've got to expect some pain, man,
Mm-hmm.
because listen, guys, that first time When you that first time when a brother in Christ or the Lord points out to you what you just did or said or how you made your wife feel,
Yeah.
that first time when you
Yeah.
go, oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to now, because now you got to own, oh, I've been doing that to her for
Right.
a long time.
Right. It's like if you go to a gym and you hire a personal trainer, do you not think you're going to be ticked off at him sometimes? I had a guy years ago, he was in my own church, Mr. USA kind of guy, seriously, was a bodybuilder and all that, and we went, and there was days I hated him. It's like, dude, I don't have it today. I am dragging. Like, I'm just wore out. I don't have, and he just pushed, oh, come on. And it's like, I'm like, there's days I walk out and I don't like him, which is probably what's needed, but dang it, I don't like him today. You know, but I'm thankful he's investing in me.
That's right.
And I know, no, he's actually caring about me to try to get me where I want to go and where I need to go. You're not going to get, it's not going to be easy. It's just not.
It's just not.
No matter what, this is any aspect of life.
Any aspect of life. It's just, it's not going to, nothing's easy.
No.
Nothing's easy.
Right.
Okay? Look, like you, owning the fact that, you know, this was learned.
Yeah.
And you know, you were in ministry, still had to be a better husband. You grew up in the church.
Yeah.
Still
And I grew up with like the greatest example of a husband,
right.
my dad.
But there's still something lost in the
Of
translation.
course.
Because there's stuff that God has to teach.
Yeah, and there's some things that nobody, exactly, you just said it. I said, there's some things that nobody can teach you. You have to just do it and get through it and figure it out. And as you said, let God teach you in the process.
Yeah.
Because we're all different. You can't just carbon copy someone. You can have an example. You can follow up to someone that can mentor you. But there's some things you just have to go through. And there's so many people, when they're in it, they quit too soon. I mean, so many people.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And it's like, I try to tell people, and some people in my church, they hang around long enough, and I see them go through pattern and pattern, and I find, I'm like, okay, do you guys see this pattern? And you get to the spot every time, and I know it's hard, and I know there maybe even seem legitimate reasons why you can quit or stop or whatever. But every time you stop, and then that's where you never get a breakthrough.
Yep.
And if you will stick with it, you'll see you'll get a breakthrough. And then you learn the pattern in the process. And if you will get to the next mountain, and you don't quit.
And you will get to the next mountain.
Oh, totally. Right. Right. So you can either, and the thing is though, when I you're gonna have tough times in life anyway. Why not get victory? Why not gain territory? Why not accomplish something?
Right.
It's gonna be hard. You can't just sit in a corner and have it on easy street.
Right.
Like you're gonna face it. And so when you get to that pain point, what do you do? So.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, life is not the plains of Nebraska. Unfortunately, it's the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
And I can't believe we're out of time.
Yeah.
So say any shout outs you want to give. Say anything to anybody.
Well, you know, we do have a lot going on in life. Listen, I would say if you want to run for office, go ahead and run for office too. It's closed for city council for this year. The filing period just closed, but in the future, if you want to go work for my opponents, go work for my opponents. Just get involved. Go vote. You do need to find out. You know, find out what people believe, and it's hard today to find that out, especially on a local level. But talk to them, give them a call, give me a call. Just get involved. My website's jeremyforcorona.com. You can read more about what strong, safe, and successful means. There's endorsements there. You can get involved if you want to do that, jeremyforcorona.com. My church's website, if you want to find out about my church, it's connectcorona.com. So you see jeremyforcorona.com, connectcorona.com. We have a theme working here. My radio show's every Monday at 3:30. Look me up online, Twitter. I don't tweet a whole lot, actually. I don't do Twitter much. Instagram, at Pastor Jeremy M. Facebook, whatever. I'm here, man. I'm part of this community. And, you know, we just want to make this better. And one last thing I just want to say, you said, why are we doing this? We're doing this to take a stand for righteousness, man. We need people to make right decisions in this city. We need to stand up for what's right. And I'm just tired of what I see happening in the country. And I've never been one to stand by and let somebody else try to be the solution. I want to try to be part of it. So anything we can do to help and serve and lead, let's go for it.
All right. So thanks, guys. Look, I hope you got something out of this, man. And I hope that you plug in a video, plug in a book, something, read, get your brain going, get the right stuff in, and check out Jeremy at church. I'm telling you, he brings it. And if you're in his district, vote for him.
Thanks.
So we will talk to you next Thursday. Have a great day. I love you, but remember, Jesus loves you more.
That's right. God bless.
For I'm the chief of sinners.